Hey man, how's it going?
Howdy doody, not too bad. Nice
Good,
day
good.
today. Went and got some groceries at Superstore, and
Here we
everything
are.
costs so much.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Oh, I got
And
myself some Lego, just a little.
oh
What was this
really?
thing called?
You and your Lego.
Captain Rex Y-wing microfighter. Love them.
You big kid. That's awesome.
Uh-huh. A
Um
very big kid.
yeah, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast and yeah, our spoiler review of the Futurama Mystery Liberry. Not to be confused with library. We're not misreading this one. It actually does say library. However, just a small note on that. The previous episode, which one of our viewers who had
Thank you,
commented in the
viewer.
comment section of the video, he I believe his name is Luke. Shout out to him. Luke had stated that in the UK, apparently, it's cuteness over load. And having looked into this, I have actually looked online to see like maybe we misread it, but it actually does say overlord in a few different places still and overload now in I think on Wikipedia and some other places. So either it was a mistranslation or a mistype, like a typo of some sort, or they decided to change the name.
I
So we
don't
don't
know.
actually
The
know.
R and A are close, but they're not like one button away.
No, they're not. And so that's why I'm like, I'm pretty sure this was somebody had said overlord or overload, and somebody thought it said overlord, and they just typed it in that way. That's what I'm thinking happened. But, anyways, that was last week. We just wanted to make a disclaimer. We're not illiterate. We promise. It said overlord. and
You're not illiterate.
and
I might be.
Mitchell's a little dyslexic. But
Yeah.
then way
No.
back when we did our predictions video, it had said Overlord because I had read it,
Yes.
you had read it. It was
Yes,
clearly
and
Overlord. So
that's
any
why,
case,
yeah,
yeah,
our idea was way better than what they did.
right. If it had been
No.
cuteness overload that we were predicting for, maybe we would have had different ideas.
Yeah,
But
it would have
in
been
any
like Nibbler
case,
got cloned or something like that. So there's way too many of them or
right.
something like
Maybe
that.
or
Yeah.
or something happened, or maybe yeah, who knows, something to do with Amy getting like maybe she got her cuteness back after her cuteness reduction. Who knows? Who knows? Doesn't matter. Point is, that is the case. It is both
Yeah.
overload or overlord, depending on what you're looking into. So just wanted to bring that up. Any case, let's look at Liberry. So
Yeah.
indeed, we were
Season
correct with
9,
our.
Episode 9.
Yes, correct. We were, or episode 12, episode 9, depending on what you look at,
Season
right?
12. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Whatever.
yeah, but we were kind of correct with our predictions. Um,
Anthology.
well, obviously the anthology, which would that was easily predicted,
Yep.
but also that I believe I had said it might be based on like very popular detective stories. I mind you, I had said like Agatha Christie and like Sherlock Holmes, which is not true, but they did indeed do that with the three different stories in here. They're all based on a different mystery-esque
Yeah.
story
Like
that
kid,
appeared.
kid,
Yeah,
kid.
kid
Oh,
detective
so
type
thank you,
of
detective.
yeah
Yeah.
kind of stories, which is honestly a really good idea. That's the overall theme of the episode, and I thought it was good.
You know
So we
what? I
have
would agree with you if this was
yeah,
made for 10-year-olds, but since this is made
sure.
for adults who don't spend money on Futurama merchandise, it should have been more adult orientated books like Sherlock Holmes and
I,
other mystery solving
or it,
things.
it
Like,
would
I
have
don't
been
know.
it would have been people who grew up reading those books when they were kids, right? And then
Okay,
they
yeah.
grew up
Well,
with Futurama.
Nancy Drew was, I think, like the 80s
That
though.
was a long, or even earlier, I think. Yeah, it was a long time. Same
Yeah.
with the Hardy Boys. Okay, so
And Tintin, that's like
that's
I
super
don't want to
old
say it's
too.
100 years old, but it's
Yeah, that's a
definitely
long.
around
That's
World
really
War
old. Yeah.
II-ish. And
So
I do like the guy who made Tintin. He's a cool dude. I
yeah,
can't
and
remember his
then
name.
Dictionary Brown is another one there. So,
That
or sorry,
I like
Encyclopedia Brown. Encyclopedia Brown. I'm sorry,
yeah.
Encyclopedia Brown.
I
So
honestly, to God, cannot remember
right,
that at all. My brain tinkles like you should know this. I'm like I should, but
it's
I don't.
referenced. I kind of know of it, but yes, it's a little bit more like maybe if you read Hardy Boys, you would have read Encyclopedia Brown or any of these other ones. I think there's another one
All I'm saying is that
with
these are very
Professor.
dated stuff for
Yes, it's
stuff
very
that's
old, but
even dated now.
mind you, Sherlock Holmes is very dated compared to that too, right?
It's
So
still relevant though, I would say, because there's so many
new
rehashes, reboots, and
films and
stuff like
such,
that,
sure, yeah.
and gender bending stuff. Like with the most recent one, I would say probably the most popular one was Bobby Millie Brown. What's the one that she did? Something Holmes.
Oh, right. But Sherlock Holmes is in that though.
Yes, yes, but it's
Um,
more about her kind of thing. Like it's just
yeah, I'm
they're
actually
all
forgetting.
rehashes
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff like
something
that.
Holmes though. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. She's like the new detective of that
yeah,
because
Millie
Holmes
Bobby
is
Brown
busy.
Holmes.
Yeah. So Any case, let me use that as a small segue, and I'll break this down very, very quickly, and we can each talk about as a small part. Okay, so the first portion of this, and reminder, of course, this is spoiler review. The first portion of this is indeed a Nancy Drew plus Hardy Boys plus Tom Swift parody. All right.
Right.
So we have Leela's playing like Lancey True or something.
Nancy Drew.
Yeah, she's
parody.
playing Nancy Drew, but it's her character is Lancey True because Lancey, Leela, that kind of thing. And she's looking for something. I think it's called like The Disappearance of Matter or something. That's like her book, and they have like this little cover of it. Oh, by the way, this is bookended. Sorry, I was just going to say this is bookended by also, no pun intended, bookended by LeVar Burton. He's kind of like reading these stories in some kind of space library.
Reading Rainbow, yeah. And yeah, so yeah, he's like, hello there, gang. And it's just him in a library in the middle of space.
and that's it. I thought for sure we were going to get the brains, but nope, no brains.
Again,
so whatever.
We're too smart for them. We are way too smart for this. Because like you and I love continuity, and Futurama doesn't now, had very good continuity.
Sure.
And the brains would have been better in my opinion. But
absolutely.
Are they canonically destroyed, or are they kind of like in an iffy place?
They're in another universe. That was kind of what Fry did to them, and then he escaped because of their help, right? So it could have been that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
right?
Yeah, it's LeVar, right? It's LeVar Burton, mind you. LeVar Burton could have like maybe voiced a brain.
Yeah, I would have loved that. That would have been a great callback. Like, he was a nice brain.
Yeah, and he's still like wearing his visor or something. But in any case, so he's telling these stories, right? And so it's kind of like, you know, the author, not the author, but the narrator of what's going on in the story. So he reads us into the first one, which is Lancey True, which is of course a Leela, and the disappearance of matter. Things are disappearing in her little small town. I do like the design of like her small town. Looks like the house looks very much like the Planet Express HQ and all this stuff. There's a few little jokes about how like this town has like 8 million people in it because it's like based in New York, even though it's like called like Upskirtville or something or whatever it is, or out somewhere. I can't remember. So anyways, though, Leela disappears throughout there, or Lancey disappears wherever, and so then it becomes a Fry and Bender kind of portion of it, and they turn out to be called the Smarty Boys, which is of course a parody of the Hardy Boys, and they go looking for her to try and find out what happened to her.
Now I gotta say, hasn't Fry like referenced that beforehand too at some point?
Yeah, he says Hardy Boys too easy, Nancy Drew too hard. That's literally during that.
So this is 100% a callback to that episode, and they just throw it away like they have been this last 2 seasons.
Could have easily fit in there as a little fun cameo, but it doesn't matter. So Fry and Bender are looking for Leela, and they're also joined by Zoidberg and Amy, who
Chud.
Yeah, Chud and
Chunky
my
Chud.
Tomboy friend Andy.
Yeah. Yeah,
they keep on saying like, why do you just call me your friend? Why do you just call me your friend? Like,
why do you keep like saying like I'm a tomboy, and why do you keep calling him fat? Like, was that a thing for the Hardy Boys or Nancy Drew?
No. So I think what they're playing on is like if you look at those old 80s movies and 70s movies or something, a lot of people when they talk about it, it's like, oh, you know, like that was the fat kid, that was the fat friend, that was the
like
smart
Stand
friend.
By Me kind of thing.
Right, like this was like they're the stereotypical stock character types, right? So
I
they're
knew
just
there had to be some kind of what's the word? It's always constantly used in that kind of genre, that timeline or something like that, staple of that time kind of thing. So I figured that they were just kind of like, this is bothering me. Stop calling me that. So
right. Well,
I kind of figured that.
You could just call me your friend, and that's what they're playing on. So I actually kind of thought that was funny. I thought Zoidberg was the best part of that actually.
He was pretty good.
Just after that, then right when they're about to find out what happened, the universe is getting sucked in, and the professor shows up, and he's Tom Snift, and this is a parody of Tom Swift, another like child detective. Any case, everybody gets sucked in, and that's basically where that one ends. And Zoidberg and Amy take off, like, because they were sick of being like the sidekicks who never got any recognition. That's basically where that one ends. Yeah, go ahead.
I will say one thing that I absolutely loved about that was the professor. Can't remember which one of the three he had, but he had a tiny smelloscope.
Yes, that's the second one, the Tintin.
Dang, sorry.
But no,
this one was such a non-episode for me. It just all kind of blurred together. Mm-hmm. So like it was just an episode to me. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It just there was no flavor. It was the blandest food I've ever had ever.
Sure. I think what this is for me is what a lot of people were kind of looking into is like, yeah, the episode itself is kind of lackluster, but the style in which they do it and how they wrote it I thought was okay, even though there's kind of like, again, kind of lack of payoff and there's not a lot of really interesting stuff going on. But I do like how they speak is very much like those books. And then if I can go into the next segue here, or the next portion of it, so we get into Tintin, and this is Fry, and I actually, you and I just talked about this off mic a little bit. I think this is the best that Billy West has sounded like Fry in the entire series. As who
you and I were definitely ragging on him and stuff, and I did look into it a little bit, and he did get COVID, which is a vocal issue when you have you'll sound weird and stuff like that, right? So obviously he has recovered from it, or this could be where he wasn't sick, and this is before he got sick. And
very well could have been, but whatever it is.
It does sound pretty good. Everyone sounded like, again, you and me, I think, agreed, like they sound weird in the last season and in this season. They sound weird, but they sound much better now. So something either happened or they had a very junior sound editor. I don't know. It sounds better.
Well, whatever it is, like this portion of the episode especially, like when Fry's putting on, or I should say, when Billy West is playing Fry, right, like the Tintin parody.
I do like this one. This one was good.
And he's the animation really, really cool. The design is really, really cool on this. It actually looks like Tintin. Like, it's actually very, very cool. But having Fry, Tintin. Right, putting Fry on that, having Fry put on that French accent as he speaks, I was like, oh, that sounds a lot like a younger Fry. Like, it sounds like Fry from like 10 years ago. It's really, really good. So I thought that was really nice. And then they have Zoidberg playing Snowy. And it's called Zoidy, the dog.
Zoidy. I did like that, yeah.
And this one, I will argue, although I like the design the best, this story is kind of dumb. It's actually very dumb. We do see some characters.
I agree with you on that, but I still like this one the best.
Yes. So basically, this is it's a Tintin parody. The professor is playing a professor called Professor Algebra or something, because Tintin's
Algebra,
famous for having very, very specific characters. Leela's a drunk captain because that was the drunk captain from Tintin.
Did not like that part.
Character. Yeah,
it should have been Bender.
She's always drinking.
Bender's the drunk. But I feel like they just don't know how to write Leela this season. Like, she was like drunk the first few episodes and like just not herself. I felt very odd.
She was drunk in one episode, and then in the Beauty and the Bug, she was like not really herself about like wanting to help animals. Like, she's kind of been all over the place like morally recently, which is kind of strange for Leela. But in any case,
it should have been
this
Bender,
one does not focus
on her.
Sure. Well, because
Bender's the drunk, and that's what Captain Haddock is,
exactly.
Right?
Bender and Hermes and Amy all turn out to be what are they? Thompson and Thompson is who they are parodying. The detectives that are chasing them around all over the world.
Two detectives played by three people.
Right. We're the twins, and it's three people. Yeah, that was a fun joke, actually.
That was a little funny joke, yeah.
But in any
Amy
case,
had a mustache.
That's right. So in any case, the professor who's playing Professor Algebra is like talking about he has like a lost love named Mom, who's an opera singer, and of course it's Mom.
Yeah, it's Mom.
And he has to fly in their little jet, which is colored the same way as the Planet Express ship. That's really cool because that's what they used to travel around in. And Leela's drunk, blah blah blah. They end up crashing on the area, and Tintin or Fry discovers a skeleton. And he also it's a very strange episode. It's hard to kind of go in like very, very quickly, but he gets this little crank.
Wernstrom's there.
Wernstrom is like the quote unquote bad guy of it, because obviously he always is against the professor. But the two of them are fighting over Mom. And then Fry discovers this crank that he has, he puts it into a globe and he turns it, which then kind of reverses time. And they have this little history lesson about Pangea, and there's like a skeleton there, which turns out to be Wernstrom himself because Fry crushes him in the past. But the skeleton
in the future, in the past.
Yeah, and then he rewinds it back so that they can all like just cross over into New York again, or into Paris.
It doesn't make sense. That's not how Pangea worked.
It's not how time works.
No, it's not.
It's not because he moves the continents together, but that's because he's going into the past. But then all the buildings are still there. Like, I don't know. It's very dumb. It's a very dumb story. And yes, I understand it's like a story that's supposed to be for the kids. It's like, oh, that's kind of cute or something, but it's really dumb. And then Wernstrom dies, which LeVar Burton actually does make a joke about. I thought that was good. And then, they end up, or Farnsworth ends up with Mom in that one or whatever. And that's where Fry as Tintin ends. So that one was okay. Again, the design is the best, but I think that's the weakest of the episodes story-wise.
Yeah, like I said, it's still my favorite one, but just because I like Tintin.
And then the last one is, like we mentioned before, is a parody of Encyclopedia Brown. This is Bender, who's the main character. This is Wikipedia Brown. And yeah, he's a little kid who solves crimes, kind of with his tough friend Leela, who's in there. I think she's just, I can't remember what her name is in there, but in any case,
She just
all the
punches
characters, all the characters are like either teenagers or like the stereotypical old people who need help with everything because the kids are smarter than the adults in this kind of universe, right? And we do see URL or Earl, and he's still being played by Kevin Michael Richardson, I guess, because he replaced the role.
It's a robot. He's not black.
I know. And Bender's his son in this, as well as
Which I like. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that was okay.
Petunia's
his mom.
Human mom, lady mom, and Earl dad.
Is the dad.
And little Bender, which I think canonically.
Bring this up. Yeah.
I was gonna say when the one episode where the professor found the fountain of aging, but he went into some young sludge or whatever, made everyone younger and younger and younger. Is this not like the same Bender model design?
I think it is. Yep. If not, it's very, very similar to it. Yep.
Yeah. I remember he had ears at one point.
Little ears, and he has the thing. Yeah. Yep. And he's carrying around a magnifying glass because he's looking for clues and such. Yeah, it's a nice little kid Bender kind of thing, right?
Someone did a good job on that one.
Yes, someone did a little bit of homework. So overall goes to like they're looking for someone who because Earl, his dad, is a police officer, but he didn't care about a certain case, so he gives it to his son. And of course, Bender's like, okay, I'll get it. And it's just about someone is placing flaming bags of dog poop or something
crap.
on people's stairs outside their doors, and they're stuffing on it, or stepping on it. So they're trying to figure out who it is. Bender admits he doesn't know how to do it, even though he has all these clues, but he can't solve it. And then they're visited by a very strange cameo of Neil deGrasse Tyson, who literally just says, "Oh, the bag I know where the bag came from. It came from the Big Bang because it's made of matter. This is where matter comes from." I'm like, wow, that is the stupidest way of like inserting this kind of weird. What is anyway? And
here's the thematic theme that's been all of this season. Not a strong ending.
Right. And yeah, exactly. And Bender just suddenly says, like, wait a minute, where did you come from? And Neil deGrasse Tyson freaks out, and it turns out he's the culprit who's, I guess, is leaving the bags of poop on people's door. And he leaves the story. And the next time we see him, literally right afterwards, he knocks at LeVar Burton's door in the library in space. And he hides him in like the science section because apparently nobody goes there. This is a joke on the education system. And then it just ends with LeVar Burton and the library being closed like a book. And that's it.
Yeah. So a very disappointing ending.
It's a very strange
anthology.
thing.
Even for anthology.
Mm-hmm. I mean, say what you will about Prince and the product. At least there was some kind of storyline kind of going through it all, because all the anthology episodes before that had that, right? But this one just kind of feels, I mean, I get it, but it could have been the brain, or it could have been Amy, like even telling stories to her kids, right? Like the kids are introduced, do that. Like boom. It just seems very strange to have like, okay, have LeVar Burton, that's awesome, but make him a character then, like make him something. I don't know. It just seemed very strange.
So in the brain episode where Fry defeats the brains and everything, with the Scooty Puff Senior or whatever.
Oh, sorry, right? The Wyatt Fry. Sure, okay.
The Wyatt Fry. We could have had a couple brains that weren't there with the big brain. So these brains are like, well, now what do we do? Kind of thing. Right. Either they could become new villains, make them a new big brain, or they can have their own personality. Exactly. That's them collecting things, and it could have been voiced by LeVar Burton, kind of thing, right? That would have been great and stuff like that. Like,
it would have been kind of a fun little call.
A gigantic brain.
Right.
Kind of thing, right?
But they're not the gigantic brains, right? But yeah.
Well, whatever, right? And it could have just been something like that. Or I like your idea, too, with Amy reading books to her kids, which would honestly make another sense. Or she could have been like, oh, okay, babysitter. Oh, hey, brain, babysitter. And it could have been LeVar Burton.
The babysitter's LeVar Burton.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, they could have gone on a date. Boom. It puts both of our worlds together.
There you go. I love
kind
it.
of thing. Right, so, and he could have read these books to these idiot kids, and had them go, "That's a stupid story. I like kittens." It could have done something like that, right?
Yeah.
But Anthony and I were talking before this thing as well about all of the anthology episodes, and there's 8 of them now with this one. And where would you rate this one out of all of them?
Right. Well, you know what? Before we get into that, let me think about like what I even liked about this episode in the first place. So I think
Okay,
I
I
think
guess so.
that
Yeah.
there's like because we can talk about that at the end because I think you're right. There's a placement for this anthology episode
Second last, in my
for sure.
opinion.
Okay. I'd probably agree with you honestly because obviously the last one we just did was like the
Prince and the
sorry, not we
Product.
did, but the Prince and the Product was obviously the worst one. But you know what? Let me get into that. We'll see because there's a couple that are very very well done
Oh yeah.
central in the Comedy Central run and obviously the original two right from the Fox run.
Yeah.
But what I liked about this one is I do like the mystery genre, and I think I even said that during the our predictions one as well. Like I'm a fan of the genre. I'm disappointed that it didn't end on these certain ones. I don't like that the stories weren't really paid attention to. It seems like they just wanted the cameos. They just wanted like, oh, here's a fun little thing. I think Tintin's design was very good. That one seemed to have the most like love for that kind of thing because they even speak with like a lot of. I know it's English with like French accents and a few French words thrown in there, but it still feels authentic to what Tintin would be for like an English audience. So I thought that was really good,
Yep.
even though the
Agreed.
story was dumb. The story was
Uh,
very dumb,
it,
and it really
yeah.
pisses me off. And then for
I'd say it's hard
Encyclopedia
to get
Brown,
a good
yeah,
story to kind of like
right,
reference all that, but also be its own thing for Futurama in the time that they did.
yeah.
I'll just say like that. Like I don't feel like there's much love for the Futurama as much as there used to be from the
Well,
writers.
whoever's writing is they clearly I don't it doesn't feel like they're really writing for the characters because so you remember Mitchell, you and I when we did in our major podcast like the normal podcast, and we've now done the first anthology episode and we had our friends
Yeah,
join us for
our
this one,
actual
right?
reviews.
The
Yeah, our
actual
actual
review
reviews for
portion
Futurama
of
rather
it,
than these
yeah.
short ones.
Right. Like when we were talking about that, one thing I think Tristan and Andrew had also mentioned during this is like it's incredible when you can get these three short stories, and in these three short stories you need to have like a beginning, middle, and end, and they have to
Yep.
be satisfactory to like what the characters are and all this stuff. Like you have to jump right into it. There's no backstory. There's nothing. You just have to get right into it because you already know these characters. All of these stories, especially with product, but even with this one, it doesn't feel like they really care too much about, as you mentioned, it doesn't feel like they don't have any love for the Futurama characters anymore. And when they're writing,
No.
it shows it. They're just like, oh, it's a gimmick. Oh, let's have Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
Let's have Nancy Drew.
It's
Let's have
they're
Tintin.
trying to
And it's
turn
just
it
like,
into the Treehouse of Horrors, where it's just that. It's just like, oh, we're doing it every season. Here you go, boom, kind of
right,
thing.
but even
That's
even
what
the
it feels like
Treehouse
to
of
me.
Horror, like even the Treehouse of Horrors, like those old Simpsons, the older ones, like they still had the characters act the way they would in those situations. That was the
Agreed,
point,
agreed.
right?
But
So
like
these ones
watching
don't.
The Simpsons though, it's just
Yeah,
like every season has to have one. And I
yeah,
think a while ago they had two in one season or something like that. And it's a lot easier
kind
to
of. Yeah,
do references to horror movies or something like that. Oh, like here's the monster, here's how Homer would react to him. It's a very Homer way. Cool, that's awesome. And this one is just like, Futurama. Let's use this character, pluck them in here, and not them be themselves really.
well, yeah, exactly. It's like how can you have like so Fry being like, actually Fry being Tintin kind of makes sense because he's like okay,
Yes.
Tintin is like a mystery, like I think he's like an author as well or something. I can't ever actually. Do you remember what Tintin is in the story? Like what his job is?
Journalist.
He's a journalist, right? So
Yeah.
Fry being like a delivery, so he still has his job. Like Fry is still Fry, but they still kind of have this like Tintin-esque, you know, adventure, right? But it feels so strange afterwards. And then you also have like the Lancey Drew thing. So like Leela is Lancey Drew or Nancy Drew, and this whole thing, it's like they're forcing all three of these. If anything, they should have made like maybe three separate things focusing on like, oh, this is how Lancey Drew ended, so now it's going to be taken over by the Smarty Boys, which would then introduce Fry and Bender. Like it seems like it's so rushed, and it doesn't pay any attention to it. So, in any case, my overall thoughts of this particular anthology episode, I like the designs, but the story just it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. There's no care to it, and the storyline, although it doesn't have an ending or has a very
Yep.
strange ending, at least like with the anthology of interest episodes or the TV show episode or something, you can kind of, our suspension of disbelief, so to speak, you can kind of figure it out in the real life aspect of the Futurama universe. This one doesn't have that. It's literally LeVar Burton standing in a library in the middle of space, with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it's like it makes no sense to the universe. It makes no sense. All the other ones had a sense. That's why I give a little bit of credit to Product, like Prince and the Product, because at least it was supposed to take place like over the course of some kind of episode, although we don't like the episode. So, any case, that's my thought. Your thoughts on this episode overall, then we can go through the anthologies.
I don't know, man. Like I'd give it like just the barest minimum of passing grade. Like honestly, I kind of forgot the third segment just because it didn't capture me at all. And because you're talking about what's the third one called? Something Brown.
Wikipedia Brown was the episode's name. It's based on Encyclopedia Brown.
Okay, yeah, didn't even remember that. Like that's how what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know, just very nonplussed about this episode. It's not the worst by any means, just because it's three little stories and a very crappy conclusion.
We knew it was coming. We knew this kind of storyline would be coming, right? Like it's an anthology one. We knew that wasn't going to be like tied to the original like show, obviously, but they still usually have some kind of connection. But yeah, okay.
So I don't know. What would you give it out of 10? I'd give it a 5.
You said a passing grade. Is that a 6 to you? Is that a
5.5 at best? 5.5.
Okay. Yeah. I'd probably say 6. I'll give it a 6. I think it overall.
That's still quite high, I think, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not that high. I mean, obviously it's not that high. I would say it's not. It doesn't fail. And I do like some of the jokes. Like honestly, this episode does have some really good humor. I thought there was some really funny jokes in it. Like it's just the overall story of it. Like the first one is whatever, the second one's not good, and then the third one is also whatever. But the first one also has like some of the funniest jokes. Like I thought Zoidberg is funny. I thought he was very funny in it. I thought the second one, the design is really, really cool. And the third one was what it was. I thought it was the worst portion of it, but I thought it was fine. So that's why I would give it a 6. It's passable to my side for that. So
all right.
Yeah. In any case, overall with the anthologies. So now we've talked about it a little bit. Yes, I put this one second highest as well. Or sorry, second
lowest.
From the bottom. Sorry, second from the bottom. Oh. Yeah, second lowest. Obviously, Prince and the Product at the bottom. And you and I talked. So there's the 2 anthologies from the Fox run.
Anthology 1, which what's Anthology 1 again? It had Terra at 500.
We've actually done a review of this. You guys can find our review of this episode.
But just short, quick ones. Then Bender being 500 feet tall. The next one, part 2 of that was when Leela just wanted to be just a little more impulsive. And then the third one was what if Fry didn't go to the future?
Never come to the future, right? Didn't come to the future. Right, that one was really funny. And yes, we did do a full review of that one. You can look at that one. The second one, which we're getting to soon when we get to that season. So that one was when Bender becomes human.
Love it.
When Fry thinks wants the world to be more like a video game. And
also good.
The last one, which is technically because Leela gets bonked on the head, which is actually a very clever way of doing this. That's how it's connected to the actual anthology of the show.
Yeah.
Believes that she's in the Wizard of Oz, and that's kind of a way
wants to find her true
characters
home.
In there. Right. So those 2 are spectacular, very, very funny.
Oh, I love them.
Overall connecting. They're very, very good very, very good episodes. Now into the Comedy Central run, we had the Christmas one. Is that the first one?
Yeah.
Or so not the Christmas one, the holiday one. Sorry, the holiday
one. The holiday one. Yeah.
So
it has Christmas in it, which is Fry misses Christmas. Do they have Christmas trees? Oh, they're in the vault. Oh crap, they're all infected by something.
That's right.
And
so they have the Christmas tree one, the Hanukkah or the Kwanzaa one, sorry, and then Bender's Robonica, right, with the mud wrestling or the oil wrestling. So that's one. Then there was the one with the nature. I think it's just called Naturama or something.
Yeah, I like that one. Salmon. Fry's a salmon.
Yep.
The tortoise one where the professor's the tortoise, and then the elephant seal where Kif wants to have Amy, but Bender's the beach master. And they have a fight.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it's
is it the animation one?
Yeah, the Saturday morning one, which I love.
Wait, sorry, no, is that the Saturday morning one, or are you talking about the animation one?
There's different types of reincarnation. Sorry.
Yeah. So the animation one is when it's about the comet, and they do like an old style Disney-esque 1920s, 1930s animation style for the first one. Then they have a 6-bit or an 8-bit video game one. And then they do an anime manga version one. and they have like a
Yes.
fun little when their voices don't match their lips type of thing. Like it's very, very well done. Very well done. Not as funny, I would argue, but it's still pretty well done. And
I
then
do
there's the
like the low
Saturday morning
resolution
fun
one, the
pit.
8-bit one. That one's I
Well,
think
that
my
one's
favorite
funny
out of
too.
those three.
Yes,
Yeah.
that one's funny too. And then then the Saturday morning fun pit where
That
Nixon's
one I
watching
like.
cartoons, and I can't remember what is it again. It's the GI Joe Transformers. No,
Hold on, I gotta look this one up. It was season 7, episode 19. That was the one where they had Scooby Doo,
right, the
Bendy's
Scooby
Boo.
Doo, right? Okay, Scooby Doo was the first one. Yep.
Oh, right, the shortcake one. That was like the Smurfs, but
Right.
with Fry.
Or strawberry shortcake, right?
Yeah,
And Fry's like an
yeah.
orange one,
And then
the
G.I.
other one's a
Joe.
purple. Yeah, and then GI
Yeah.
Joe, which is hands down the funniest
The best
portion of
one.
that episode.
And just to explain, because everyone was complaining that television, which was the thing what that parents complained about way back when, was too violent or too this or too that. So Nixon took it upon himself to like dub over it, like kind of thing,
Yeah.
and all the heroes
that
going
was
down
the last portion.
with like evil names like Orphan Crippler,
And he passes
Jeff.
or something. Right. It's very, very, very funny because it's Nixon doing it, and he's just like, oh, that episode's actually quite good. I can't wait to
Bastard.
get to that episode.
I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, that's right. And then I think that's it, right? Those are the anthology episodes.
And then the Prince and the Product, yeah, after that, and then this one,
which everybody knows about already. So,
yes.
Overall, honestly, I would say I would put the 2 anthology episodes up the highest. I don't know which one I'd put higher. Then I would put
it's hard to choose.
The Saturday morning fun pit, and then
I did like that one, yes.
Then I would have probably Naturorama, because I think that one made me laugh more, followed by the different design one, the animation one, and then this
holiday.
one, or the holiday one, then this one, and then Prince and the Product.
Yeah,
that'd probably be my order. But I mean, it's very like we haven't even really reviewed the other ones. We've only done one, so I'd have to go back and revisit these ones as well. But having just like a thought about it and then just thinking about the things I remember, that's probably what I would choose.
Honestly, the biggest thing I can say about all those anthology episodes, why didn't they just continue with the What If machine? That's not that hard, and like we can still do that too. Like, what if I was like an anime kind of thing?
Yeah,
and they
what
could
if
have
we
done
were
that.
in an anime or something?
Yeah.
I think they just they creatively wanted to try something new. I think that's all it was. Or they couldn't really fit into the story, or they thought it would just be recycling an old idea because they had already done it twice. But I don't know.
It's the same thing you could go with The Simpsons with doing Treehouse of Horrors. It's just them in that horror genre movie or whatever, right? I like the What If machine because it's a what if I was this or what if this happened kind of thing. They could have just naturally put that in there and that's fine. But I think they should have just gone back to the What If machine, but maybe because that's the original run, they didn't want to be like the original run. And
it was the Comedy Central run that also didn't do that, though, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. They didn't want to be like the original Fox run, so they did their own thing, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, very well could have been. But in any case, that's the Futurama Mystery Liberry. I mean, watch it. It's kind of funny if you like some mystery stuff. If you read those kids books when you were kids or something, I mean, you might get a kick out of it because it's like, they kind of write it the way that it was written kind of back then. I think that's the best portion. But yeah, Mitchell and I we're kind of like, this is half like just passable. It is what it is.
I get angrier the more I think about it.
But hopefully that will not be the case for the last episode. This is the next one is the last one of the season, right? Otherwise, episode 10 of 12. So we'll see each other and everybody next time for that episode. Thanks again, Mitchell, for joining me. We'll see you then.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.